Okay, thank you, and thank you all for coming here at this hour of the night. We have an important update to share with our community. Just less than 12 hours ago, we responded to a brutal double murder where a man and a woman, a husband and a wife, two distinguished military veterans were gunned down in their front yard. We're going to tell you a little bit about our victims. Served our community for many years, and they were shot and killed in cold blood in their own front yard. We shared earlier today that we had a suspect vehicle description. We gave limited information about that description because that's all we had at the time. In the meantime, our detectives have been working relentlessly. We have been fielding many calls from our community with tips. So thank you, community, for your calls, your concern, your prayers, your thoughts about this heinous crime. From those tips and from the great work of our detectives, we are now going to describe the make, model, and registration plate of our suspect vehicle. We still need more information. We still need to identify this killer. We need to get him off the streets. He's known to the DMV, we believe. We think he's likely still local. We think someone has seen the car. We urge that person or persons to contact us. The car may be parked in your neighborhood right now. So please continue to work with your police department as we do everything we can, and we're not going to rest until we bring this killer to justice. And again, before I turn it over to Major O'Carroll, our thoughts and our prayers go to our victims and our victims' family, friends, and neighbors. It's a tragedy. It's something that shouldn't happen. It did happen, and we need to bring this person to justice. Major.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. As the Chief introduced, I'm Major Ed O'Carroll. I'm the Bureau Chief of Major Crimes, Cyber, and Forensics for the Fairfax County Police Department. As I had previously shared earlier today and bring everyone up to date on this tragedy in Fairfax County, at 9:20 this morning, our 911 dispatch center received an urgent 911 call for a break-in event in the 8000 block of Flint Street in Springfield here in Fairfax County. Officers rapidly responded to the scene, very heroically, arrived on the scene within 2 minutes of when that 911 call was placed. When they arrived, they did locate two people shot in their front yard. Officers heroically gave life-saving treatment, gave first aid, tried to give aid to those that were shot in the front yard. Our personnel from the Fairfax County Fire and Rescue Department responded in as well. Sadly, both individuals were pronounced deceased by rescue personnel, suffering from apparent multiple gunshot wounds. The victims, as the Chief mentioned, honorable military service to our country. We're very proud of the legacy that they left to the United States of America. Murdered today in Fairfax County, Edward McDaniel Jr., 55. Brenda McDaniel, 63, both of Springfield. They did nothing wrong. They were tragically and horribly murdered in their neighborhood. This police department, our detectives, our victim advocates, our uniformed officers on patrol are dedicated to positively closing this case with an arrest. So I and the Chief stand before you today at nearly the 12-hour mark. Our staff will continue to work overnight, but we can't do it alone. We need the community's help. So this is an active investigation. It started the minute the call was received, but even in this relatively short period of time, I want to provide information on a confirmed vehicle that we have leaving this double homicide. It is a 2018 light-colored Nissan Altima, and the Maryland registration is as follows: 1 Edward Frank 1479. I'll repeat that. Maryland registration 1 E for Edward, F for Frank 1479. We have confirmation that it fled the scene. We want that vehicle. It's part of our double homicide investigation. If you've seen that vehicle today, you have knowledge of its whereabouts. It's in your neighborhood. You're driving on a road and you observe the vehicle, dial 911. The person responsible or the persons responsible for today's double homicide are not in custody, and we need the community's help. The firearm used or firearms have not been recovered. The offender or offenders in this case should be considered armed and dangerous. Now, I'll tell you, on behalf of law enforcement, we're not alone. We've reached out to our National Capital Region partners, and in partnership with the United States Marshal Service, I am sharing with you that they have offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to the suspect or suspect's arrest. So I'd like to thank the United States Marshal Service, the detectives that have worked throughout the day, that will work throughout the night, and then the days, weeks, and months ahead on this case. To the advocates, thank you for working with the family that got struck with this terrible tragedy today. And the crime scene detectives, cyber and forensics, everyone that comes together when a tragedy like this happens. We often say in this police department, it truly is Team FCPD, and it's for justice for these victims and the family. So again, I'll repeat this in closing. We ask for the community's help. If you see or know the whereabouts of the 2018 Nissan Altima, Maryland registration 1 Edward Frank 1479, call 911. Do not approach the vehicle and notify local law enforcement. We will appropriately respond and handle that vehicle and any of its occupants appropriately. Thank you.
Major, can you say anything more about what may or have led up to this in addition to what you were out there for earlier in the week?
Yeah, so we were out there. We had previously shared, we were out there on Monday at that residence in this 100 block. We were actively working an investigation. One of our station level detectives had an active investigation. We've met with that detective. We pulled all the records associated with that case. And we do believe Monday's response is directly connected with today's tragedy. And that vehicle is associated with the double homicide. We've got a great community, and we've had people come forward that have identified that vehicle with that license plate number, which ties into our active investigation. There's a lot of questions that we still have. Getting that vehicle and the person responsible for this tragedy is really going to aid us.
Major, two-part question. Do you believe that the person that was inside the home on Monday for the attempted burglary was the same person who came back today?
Could you ask that question again? There was one particular point I wanted to get clarity on.
My understanding is somebody made an entry into the house on Monday. And do you believe that that person who made entry into the house is the same person who came back today?
Yeah, so that's a great question. How close are the offender Monday to that event, to today's event? I think there's a direct correlation to who was there Monday was there today.
So then what's the motive?
The motive, that's a good question. I will tell you, in any investigation like this, we're open-minded. And we have not defined an exact motive to today's tragedy. There's a lot of questions that we still have, a lot of things that we still want answered. I will say that the key is the car, but ultimately the key is the shooter or a second person.
And what did the McDaniels do in the armed forces?
So they were both physicians, honorable soldiers and members of the United States military service, both
Army?
Both retired and active service. So our condolences go to the branch of service, goes to the family, the neighborhood, our community. This is Fairfax County, and this is, as I mentioned earlier, our 9th and 10th homicide for the year. It's 9 and 10 too many, and this person or persons will be brought to justice. I know the community, like they did today, will step up and help. A tip may be coming in right now about where that car is. We believe it's in this region, and it's in this community. We've alerted patrol officers. Now we're messaging the community.
Is there anything more you can say about what this couple was doing at the time of the shooting? And then it was two people who were inside the house when this happened?
Yeah, so great question. We do believe, we know there's two occupants in the house, and our officers were very heroic and did the right thing. I mean, we thought there might be a imminent danger inside, right? You can imagine as a first responder, the tough job of law enforcement. You know, 2 minutes after an emergency call, they're on the scene. Officers did go in an effort to see if there was injured or suspects inside, and we did locate two people in the residence. You know, thank goodness they weren't physically armed. But to your point about their presence there, again, it's life-saving. We're looking for victims and potential suspects. By the time we got there, the offender or offenders weren't there. That car was not on scene, but we were able to get a lot of information from residents, community members. As the chief said, tips have come in. So we're hot on this case. We're at the 12-hour mark, and my staff will be working overnight.
And the couple, they were outside when they encountered.
Yeah, let me answer that part of the question is they were doing nothing wrong. They were outside. They were gunned down. And I can tell you from being there this morning, it's unimaginable for the family and the neighbors. I can tell you as a police commander, it breaks my heart to see what I saw today. And our commitment is justice for them and for those family members left behind.
Were they in the process of walking their dogs this morning? Is that why they were outside?
Yeah, so, some of that stuff's still under investigation. We've talked with some of the neighbors. We're asking if anyone hasn't made themselves available to us in that investigation. Maybe they saw something that they have not shared with us, to contact us. They can do that by calling 691-2131, 703-691-2131, and let us know. Maybe they have a piece of information. Maybe they saw one of the McDaniels earlier that morning and could help tell that story. We will get all the pieces to what unfolded that morning. But I can assure you, as I stand here at this podium, honorable people served our country. Their service to our country had, I believe, nothing to do with their death today. But it's a tragedy.
Being that it's a Maryland registration and you have what you believe to be the number on the vehicle, do you have a general area in Maryland that you think this car might be from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is Maryland registration, but for the folks that are listening and watching in our community that is so engaged, and we're thankful for that, they should not focus just on our Maryland neighbors to say the vehicle's there. It could be here in Fairfax County. It could be, as the chief said, anywhere in the capital region. That vehicle and the firearm or firearms used is unaccounted for. So we didn't want to let time go by without giving more information that we know that vehicle is associated with this double murder, and we need that vehicle in our custody. It's evidence in a crime.
Just to be clear, you have identified the suspect? You said that person is known in the DMV?
I said that the vehicle we believe is in the DMV.
Okay.
That is what we're focusing on tonight, is trying to get our hands on that vehicle. And my notice to anyone watching and listening is if they see that vehicle, the occupant inside is of extremely high interest to law enforcement, right? You can just imagine. So we want that vehicle because we know it's involved in today's case.
Can you say if you've identified the suspect?
I can say that in this 12-hour mark, by minute, we're getting closer and closer. And I hope to be before you in short order to say a suspect's in custody. But as the chief and I have said now, this is our second time speaking in this case, we have, and we've used the plural terms, suspect or suspects. And I think that's pretty clear is, there's two people that have fled that scene. It is still an active investigation to determine if one or both individuals were involved in a homicide. What's key to this investigation is that car. And to our community, help us find that car.
Can I ask one other question? there's tag readers on police vehicles all over this area. There's tag readers on the highways and whatnot. Have you gotten any hits since he left the area?
We have not.
You have not.
Any other questions?
Can you just clarify this? The retired physicians, are they Army?
I believe they are Army. I believe Mr. McDaniel is active duty and a colonel in the United States Army. But I am not sure of Mrs. McDaniel's service to our country and what branch. I believe it might be Army.
Yeah, and Paul, we just don't want to misidentify the branch that our female victim served so many years, but we do know our male victim is active duty, full colonel, United States Army.
He's active duty?
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, you just said he was retired.
she's retired.
She's retired?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fair. Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
Well,
clarifying.
and one more time, do you mind giving their names and ages?
Yeah, I sure will. Killed today, this terrible tragedy is Edward McDaniel Jr., 55, and Brenda McDaniel, 63. And our deepest condolences to the McDaniel family.
Thank you.